we've proven that work can be conducted from anywhere, and our survey results seem to line up with that. So Kimberly, what type of impact do you think the COVID-19 pandemic will have on Canadian workplaces?
I love this question. I love that it was the end question, because this is a question that we could pretty much talk for, I think, a day, if not a week on. But when I think about the impacts, I kind of chunk it into some categories. And I think that how and what we use our building footprint for is going to be impacted. And so I love David's example of, staircases, right? So I do think that there's going to be some type of creativity and some type of evolution in how we create collaboration spaces, and gone are the days of little cubicles and figuring out how many people we can push into the smallest space possible. On the other side, I think it's the way we think about work, the construct of work, how we believe in what we think about work and our beliefs around it. So for example, what is a work day? When does it begin? How does it start? And then also one piece is like what's acceptable for today was not acceptable for, a couple of months ago. So for example, if, you're at home and a colleague's child walks through the screen, or a dog barks in the background in January, you were always jumping around trying to control every variable. But today there's a little bit more of a humanistic piece to some of this. And so I do think the construct of work and how that evolves will change. The way we work, and so how we onboard somebody, our training, all of those kind of pieces are evolving today, and they will continue to evolve into the future. And then procedures, practices, and policies. So, even Jose was talking about the screening practices and wearing masks in workplaces and those kind of things. All of those will evolve based on kind of our experiences of today. And definitely we have this agile, let's just go and try it, as David talked about it. But I do think the organizations will then have to quickly catch up with some of this governance piece around those practices and policies. And so those will evolve. And then lastly, because all of these pieces are moving, the culture of organizations. So if you think about what makes up a culture of an organization, those rituals, those artifacts, those stories. So if, again, people are working in different ways, not so much together in one particular place, how are workplaces and employers going to evolve their practices around embedding culture and an organizational culture across many? So that's kind of how I start to think about it, but definitely look forward to hearing what David and Jose think, because it is a really rich and meaty topic.
Well, without a doubt, I think, depending on the organization, their ability to adapt and the industry they're in, I think obviously organizations are at different stages. Kimberly certainly brought up a whole number of great points as well too, and one of them that really hit me was culture, because I know a lot of workers that are now embracing working in more of a remote environment. They see the advantages in some cases. I brought up the issue around mental health, though. I brought up the issue around self-isolation as well too, where some of those issues have to be addressed. And I think as well too, that's where how do you, as an organization, do you really ensure that you have that culture, that sense of belonging in an organization, that you're helping contribute to the needs of the organization as well, and doing it in a remote manner. The other conversation, there's two other conversations I see with the future of work. One is, being in a workspace, whether it was at a retail location or an office, you're physically present. That doesn't necessarily mean you're productive though. So now I also see a focus more that will grow and evolve around productivity. And so how do you then manage and ensure you have that productivity? That will then drive further need for leaders to really lead and manage in this type of environment. And it's not easy. There has to be trust, and an organization has to have the kind of culture to help support that as well too. So just some additional comments as well to the discussion.
I think that we have gone through a massive experience, an experiment that has destroyed a myth that existed in organizations. And the myth is that if you let people work remotely, they won't be productive. And we found it's just not true. You know, different people are more productive, different people are less, but there's still, overall, there isn't the difference that's occurring here. People can work remotely. They don't have to be watched all the time. And it's starting to evolve to some new expectations that both Kimberly and Jose refer to in different ways. But we're actually, even in the diversity literature now, are talking about diversity to inclusion. So that's been around for a while, which means that we have to have representation of diverse populations, but do we include them even if we have them present? And so that becomes inclusiveness. But with COVID, we have a new evolution of that. It's not just inclusive, it's now belonging. And Jose used the word belonging, where, you know, Kimberly, you're right. You know, we're in each other's homes. You know, and all of a sudden the dog comes running by, and we have to, you know, we're getting to know people on a level that we weren't knowing them before. In one organization, they announced that from now on, any person, animal in your home, we're going to call them a coworker. So the little baby starts crying, and they said, "My coworker needs a diaper change. I'll be back in 5 minutes." You know, so you know, we're getting all this different kind of reality where the integration of life with work is getting closer and closer because we're entering into people's homes. I think that we really have done that, and I don't think it's going to disappear. I think that will be sustained, and leadership needs to know how to nurture it and make it as an asset to really bring people in and have them engaged and committed, and in Jose's terms, productive, so that we can get really good outcomes even in this new way of working.